Well, welcome to the shop. I'd say welcome back, but we've never really done work in this one, so welcome to the garage. Today, got the 7.3 in here, and I've been experiencing some slow starting, so I thought, well, I didn't put overly great batteries in it, so I replaced the batteries. Don't think it wasn't the batteries at all, but I replaced them with interstates, so we'll be all right now. Yeah, did that. Checked the alternator. We're charging at 14.7 volts to the batteries, so the alternator is doing its thing. It's loving life. So what this means to me is either one, I'm going to clean these connections, and two, the starter could be gummed up with stuff. Now it still starts fine, so I really highly doubt that there's anything wrong with the brushes or anything like that. But when they get so plugged up with media from the brushes, because brushes are a wearing part, they get slow and people just immediately, oh, I gotta replace the starter. Well, that's not the case. And honestly, everybody these days, they go to these high torque, what is that? High torque gear reduction starters and all kinds of silly stuff. I really don't see the need for that. I've been running, this one's a Mitsubishi. I think that some of these came with Nip and Denso too, but don't quote me on that. The only two I've ever had off were Mitsubishi, so, but they were on 92 and after 7.3 IDIs. 6.9 might have been a Nip and Denso, who knows, but anyway. Ran these on these for a long time. They've been great. I've had them on tractors, excavators, skid steers, all kinds of equipment, and Mitsubishi and Nip and Denso have always been pretty solid starters for me. So I don't see a need to stray from what works. So we're just going to pull the starter off and check to see how much crap is built up in there, because if they got a lot of buildup, they'll slow down and won't make as good a connection. You know, it just gets gummed up with stuff. So we're going to pull that off. We'll clean these connections while I got the, because we're going to disconnect these batteries. That's step one on this project. You want to disconnect the batteries, because I don't think you want sparks flying in your face. So just disconnect both hot leads, and then we'll have a gander at the starter. So I'm going to disconnect these, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty. So before we get into tearing things up, tearing things apart, I know I'm making this little snippet after the fact because I mentioned at one point that you needed 9/16 for starter bolts. That's false. Apparently they were 1/2 inch. I thought they were 9/16, but they're half. So you're going to want a 1/2 inch. You're going to want a 3/8 drive ratchet, 3/8 drive, I think that's maybe a 6-inch extension. You're going to want a 3/8 drive universal, 3/8 drive 1/2 inch socket. For battery terminals, you can use a socket or you just use 1/2 inch wrench. You're going to want a 10mm 1/4 inch socket, an 8mm 1/4 inch socket, maybe an extension for 1/4 inch, up to you, and then a 1/4 inch drive ratchet. You're also going to want a 5/8 drive wrench, 5/8 inch drive wrench. Not 5/8 inch drive, just 5/8 inch wrench. I'm an idiot, pay no attention to me. The 5/8 and the 8mm take your power off your starter. That takes your wires off. The 10mm is for the bolts on the starter because it's a Mitsubishi. The 1/2 inch, and well, it's not actually a 5/8 for the big lug on the starter. It's probably some metric counterpart, but 5/8 works. And the 1/2 inch is for taking the starter out. So those are the tools you're going to need for that. Also to have handy, cleaning brushes, big bucket of gas. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. I like these impact screwdrivers because it really breaks things that haven't been apart in a long time loose. Highly advise having one of those because sometimes things go south. In this video, I had to use a Dremel because one of the Phillips heads went Ho Chi Minh on me, so I had to make a flathead in it and use that. But some wire brushes, little things like that for cleaning. I got this little scraper knife for scraping junk off. We can see if your starter's dirty, that's what the gas is going to look like afterwards. Cleaning and gas is fine. Another thing that's handy, I'd get your can of brake clean. Can of brake clean and maybe a couple trouble lights, make your life easy. That way you can see. And for safety, get a set of safety glasses, because when you're under there, you don't want a whole bunch of stuff falling in your eye, and then you'll be swearing and just having all kinds of not fun. So those are the tools that you should need for this project. Side things, just to keep things working better longer. Get some grease. I run marine grade grease. It's more expensive and it's probably BS, but I like it. And then some dielectric for your lugs on your starter, and then your lugs on your batteries. Keep things working good. Okay, so now we got our terminals off. I cleaned them. When we put these back together, I like to put a little dielectric grease on them. I didn't do that when I put these in because I was in Great Falls and everything was cold, and I just wanted to get the batteries in. So, but when I put these back on, we're gonna put some grease in them. We cleaned these, cleaned the posts, and then we cleaned the terminal ends. All nice. Yeah. So next, we're gonna want to stick my hand right in front of the camera, but then I'm gonna grab a light and get on the brand new creeper I just bought from Snappa, and we're gonna want to go under here. Oh, hell. And that light, that's our starter. Now this one's a Mitsubishi. I think I said that. It's a big starter. I don't think it's as heavy as the one in my John Deere AR. That thing's horrible. And it might just feel so heavy because it's in a horrible place, but yeah, it's not light. And it's greasy. There's the old battery end. Somebody put new cables in this thing. That was cool. I like it. We're going to pull this off. And if you ever have to put a block heater in, which I'm going to have to do, the block heater's right there. So you got to, well, you might not have to pull the starter, but it definitely makes life easier. So, but yeah, we're going to pull the starter off. And I do believe that these are 9/16. I will confirm that. I'm not going to video as I take this thing out because I need two hands. But yeah, those should be 9/16. There's one here and here. Those two are easy. The hard one, there's another on top, and it's miserable. I'm just going to say that is not fun to deal with. So, yeah. If you can, get some gloves. It'll make your life easier. Because usually these things are just greasy as all get out. But, yeah, we're going to get a 9/16, and we'll get that off. As to what that is, maybe a 5/8 by the look of it. Let's see, there's 1, 2, I think this one, I don't remember. This one might have a nut on it, or maybe it just sits on there. It might just sit on there. I don't remember. Honestly, we can take these things out when we get the starter off. But yeah, those are going to be 9/16, and there's 3 of them. They're not fun. Get some gloves. And yeah, we'll go from there once I get this thing down. Okay, so we got it off. I lied. Sue me. 9/16, not 9/16. These were 1/2 inch. You can see, oh Lord, I don't have my gloves on. But there's the bolts, 3 of them. We had one here, one down there, and this was that miserable one up top. This goes a lot easier when all this is clean. Done that before. Rotate it. But here's relay, as well as the piece that kicks the Bendix. Well, mainly kicks the Bendix, but yeah, it's there. These, I believe, are a couple 10 millimeters. I don't have a 10 millimeter. Well, let's hope it's a 9 millimeter. It's not. Well, I don't have a deep well 10 millimeter, but I do have a standard 6 point. Okay, so those are 10 millimeter. We're just going to pull this back piece off. This up here should be the gear reduction piece, because, yeah, it's high torque starter. Gear reduction stuff. There's science going on up here. Science. Back here, this is pretty simple. Don't mess with these Phillips head. There's 1 and 2. Those should be the pieces that separate your brushes. All this does is this is just going to pull this out for us. Now, with our 5/8, we're going to want to take, and it's not 5/8, but maybe our 9/16. It's not 9/16. Now, with our 1/2 inch wrench, which is filthy, we need to get our gloves on, but we're going to disconnect this, and then we're going to pull that back half apart. Focus. There we go. So I'm going to pull this back half off, and we're going to pull this wire, and that's going to pull this. This is the motor part. That's going to pull that off for us, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we got that apart. Here's the main motor. I'd rather not touch that with my greasy hand. Try to hold the phone without greasing it up. It's just going to happen and be what it is. But as we can see, there is gear reduction. Come on. My lighting's very poor. So if we turn this like yay, that piece turns a lot slower. So this is a gear reduction starter from the factory. As you can see, I'm not turning this very fast, and it's spinning the hell out of that. But as we can see, oh, there's a couple of factory detents. This honestly is not in that bad a shape. It's just dirty. So if I get a light and look in there, it's just dirty. Look at all that crap. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this to the side. We're going to grab our starter piece, and we're going to grab a light, and we're going to look down in there. The brushes are wearing. They're wearing, but I don't see anything that's disconnected. So what I'm going to do, hopefully without screwing a whole bunch of stuff up, maybe I got to tip it on end. I'm going to pull this out. And now I'm going to see what I'm hanging up on. I don't see it. So we're going to get a light. Hanging up on the seal. Oh, there's a seal. Oh yeah, let's not destroy the seal. Mr. Seal, please come off now. Okay, now is going to be the time to take those out. Those Phillips head. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. This may work, it may not. Who knows? It's not the right Phillips head. That would be why this is not working. I really need a tripod. My apologies. But yeah, I'm going to break this off and then we'll be back. Alrighty, so I got this cap off. These were Phillips head, but now they're flathead with the help of Mr. Dremel, because I broke the Phillips head. I broke the tip off of here in that thing. But these impact screwdrivers are kind of a tool that there's just no replacement. There's no real replacement for them. You smack them here, and this in turn turns. Well, it's supposed to turn the head, but it's not because it doesn't want to. But I got some better light. I found that laying about. But look at all this stuff. Look at all that. It's just media. Look at all this. That can cause a slow start. And underneath of this, we actually have a very good looking starter. This starter is not bad. Now, one thing I like to see is I don't see a lot of burn marks. There's no real spots where it's tried to weld itself to the damn starter. So that excites me. My starter off my 92, when it died, there were spots everywhere. And one of these little brushes, right here, where they attach. So right here, focus. One of those were broke. Hindsight, I should have just got this new piece because the rest of it was probably fine, but what are you going to do about it? So yeah, we're going to get this thing cleaned up, and my weapon of choice here is brake clean. Sue me, I don't care. I've got a whole bunch of it down there. As long as you let your parts dry off before you put it back together, it's fine. Brake clean is, it's a pretty irreplaceable item around here. Without brake clean, it just ain't no good at all. So I'm not pulling this apart. Well, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound fun at all. So we're going to get this back together, get it sealed back up. I really hope that there wasn't. Well, there's definitely a seal here, but that's okay. So we're going to get this cleaned back up, put back together, all nice and light, nice and tidy like. There's still wear in those brushes. I'll pick this up here. Somehow. I'll be back when I get this on. I'll show you the brushes. Alright, we're back. Apparently that just falls out the back. So you can see there's still meat left on those brushes. Now, are they at the end of their life? Yeah. Yeah, they're getting to the end of their life, unfortunately. So I will have to end up replacing this, or just getting a new starter, because for some reason, I don't know why people don't just rebuild this stuff anymore. It's not hard. This is not rocket science to rebuild. Just rebuild it. And this is all pretty fine. This wearing out doesn't really happen a whole lot. Shit, there's not even any play in that damn thing. I mean, not that you can see or feel by the hand. I'm sure if you get into it, oh yeah, there's probably play, but this part looks fine. You know, I fail to see why people are just, throw in the towel. No, there's no need for that. There's no need to throw in the towel on this stuff. This still works fine. Now what I'm going to do is, see, this is supposed to be nice and shiny copper. What we're going to do is I'm going to get an SOS pad and try to clean that off. I don't want to use a metallic abrasive. Well, maybe some steel wool. That's one thing, but I don't want to use any kind of sandpaper. I don't really even want to use much of a wire brush because I don't want to scratch the shit out of this. We want to leave this in decent shape, but as you can see, everything else is fine. So we're going to clean this up. Use some brake cleaner. Another thing I like to do, I like to get myself a bucket, and I like to go get myself some gasoline. You're not supposed to use gasoline as a parts cleaner. You're also not supposed to delete your diesel. You're also not supposed to run red dye. But does that stop people? No. Do I run red dye? No, because I don't want to deal with the ticket. $1,000 fine I don't want to contend with right now. But gasoline for parts cleaner, there you go. This can is really slow. I got to take the vent out. We'll get this poured. Well, we're almost there, actually. We're going to put some gas in. This shit's expensive right now, I tell you. It's horrible. and play with it a little bit. Okay, that's enough gasoline. Now, I do have some brushes over here that work really good for cleaning parts. Something like this. It's a really good parts cleaning brush because it's a non-metallic brush, but it's really good when you pair it with gasoline on all this crud. Just scrapes it right off there. So we're gonna get this cleaned up. Is there anything necessary? No, there is not. I'm just gonna let that guy soak up there a little bit. Let's grab, not you. You don't go in gas. I'd rather not put this in gas, but I think it's going to happen. So, also I probably shouldn't be picking this up by there. I should probably pick it up by like over here maybe, or just around the case, but I don't have gloves on right now. So we're going to get this cleaned up, stick it back together. When you're putting these together, careful, you don't want to screw too much stuff up. We also might just knock this stuff off. What do I have to knock this crud off? It's got a little crud on the outside. Just take you something flat like that. And just drag it up, knock off them chunks on the side. Watch this right here. See this big chunk of stuff? It's going to come right off. Don't want that. Want this all nice and clean. But this starter's definitely got some starts left in it. Not many, but it's got a few. These brushes are better shaped than these two. But, you know, which surprises me, as my 92 went to like 400,000 before we started doing starter stuff. This thing's only got 100 and some thousand, nobody knows. Oh, I can't turn it on, the key's off. I think it's got like 115 thou. And it's been babied its whole life. I obviously deleted the 4-post mirrors and stuff, but yeah, been babied. So, I don't know, weird. But it is what it is. I'm going to roll with it. Rollability. I like it. Okay, so now it's all cleaned up. I elected to just take the whole dang thing apart. We're going to now, I took it apart and all this got soaked in gas. So this shit's dry by now. So this is fine. Put a little grease on here. Put some grease in places. Blew it off with a brake clean as well. We still have, well, I didn't knock all the shit off of these apparently. I thought I did. Do that real quick with my fingers. Cleaned all this up. It looks pretty good. Do I care if it's perfectly clean? No. Just cleaner. Now, what I'm going to do now is we're going to take this gear case apart. If it'll stand up. Let's put it in a vise. Now that we've got this in the vise, what do we get? It can't just be one nut holding that. I've been wrong before. Well, either way, let's try not a 5/16. Let's try the 10 millimeter. The 10 millimeter for the win. So we're just going to pull this out. Because since I dunked all this in gas, I'm probably going to want to put some oil back in. Not oil, but grease. Because I don't want issues. Yeah. So we got this apart. Horrible lighting again, but it is what it is. I had a screwdriver so I can pull this seal. There's a seal in here. We got to pull this seal out. And it's going to pull this up too. There's this big seal. We want to pull that out. So it looks like the rest of this is a sealed case. So we'll be fine. But just to be sure, let's go grab the big screwdriver, because it works pretty good as a screwdriver too. And we'll just pull these screws out. There's 2 Phillips head. And this piece that kicks our Bendix out. Oh, piss. Ah, one-arm man. Kind of like Lance Armstrong, except just one arm, not just one ball. That was mean, but it was funny. And he deserves it. Remember, kids, cheating is not the way to go. I think these are the only two screws that are holding this whole thing in. So we'll pull and lose that one. That was really good. Alright, clean. Woo! Alright, we've got more cleaning to do. Because look at all that. Well, looks like we're going to be cleaning some more. And we're going to clean this as well. Oh, hello. Got some preload. Okay, yeah, simple. So, where's our fork? This goes over here. And when that kicks, it kicks this out. And then shit. Oh well. I'll fix it. But then that kicks this out and engages your starter. Oh good, a bushing and a plate that I don't really... Oh yeah, that went there. Do I know what the bushing did? Not really. How much do I care? A little bit. Some chunks. Interesting. Yeah, we're going to clean that up now. So I was going to take that apart and re-grease it, but nope, we're just going to clean the whole dang thing at this point. Okay, now we're to the assembly. I started putting some grease down there. So that's where this little shaft sits. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to turn it on its side, and I've got a toothbrush here and a grease gun. It's my favorite way to grease things. Just grab a little bit of grease here. And then I just wipe that grease off. As you can't see because I'm horrible with the camera. Then we just wipe that grease on these splines. I'll get more, of course, and then we'll get a little bit more grease. Do what I can on camera, but it's hard when you don't have a tripod. I just want to grease all of this. Get all this nice and greased, because it's got to have some form of lubrication. Alright. Hell, this. Grease him too. That's where our Bendix, that's where our fork engages. So I'm just grab a little bit more grease. Just go around like so. And I just like to use my brush. You don't need a ton. This is not something you need a ton of. And maybe get a little grease on here. You know, just grease it. Give it a liberal application of grease. Now, I'm going to be taking this and I'm going to get a nail or something. Oh, I know what to use. Broken zip tie. And I'll just pull this all the way through. And I'll get some grease. Get some more grease then. You're going to want some good grease. I like to use the marine rated grease. Is it a hoax? Probably. Does it make me feel better? Absolutely. Because anywhere that there can be the possibility of water, I like to make that possibility of having anything damaged by water lower. Whether water can get in there or not, I'm not willing to take that risk. So now that we got some grease, I just dip my hand in it. I don't want to work that grease up in there. Oh yeah, with the grease. Now we're going to take this piece and we're going to do some stuff. Do I know how this came apart? Not completely. So I think that this went in the bottom. Oh, it did. So that's going to sit in there. Where's that cute little plate? Cute little plate over top. And then there's our gasket. That's going to sit over top. Now, one thing I've learned, any of these seals that we're going to be putting on, we're going to put them back on with grease. Whether you're using grease or maybe some heavy oil, don't put seals back on dry. That's just, I learned that growing up, and it's pretty good advice. Putting seals back on dry, it just doesn't end well. And yeah, don't put seals back in dry. Oh, I just knocked some things out. But I'm going to put this back in. You're going to want to get these forks in here and then slide it back in. Like so. You want to just get these around here and then slide it back in. And yeah, you want to send that. I'll get that done and we'll be back. So some new learning that amazes me. This little bushing goes on top of our engagement fork. And I kind of figured that out. Because on the back here, there was a ring. And that usually indicates it's had on something with a hollow center. So there you go. So now, our Bendix kicks really good. You couldn't really get it to move before. So, we're doing well. So far, very pleased with how this is going. I'll take it. What I am going to do, I'm going to put some grease in there where this is hitting. You can't really see. Hold on. Right in there, I'm going to put some grease. Grease is good. So we're going to put some grease in there. And then we're going to seal this case back up and go from there. Alrighty. So we got this case back on. I greased all around the inside. I greased everything. The thing about grease is, yes, it does attract and hold on to dirt, dust, all the above, but it's also a corrosion inhibitor. And corrosion is not your friend, even if I'm pretty sure this aluminum case got to be aluminum. It's too light to be. Yeah, it's aluminum. Even though it's aluminum, aluminum still corrodes. So, yeah, I grease everything. So everything's back together and working like it should. So all is well. Now we're going to take and we're going to grab this deal and we're going to clean this up with something. But we're going to clean this, I don't know what the hell it's called, but it's where your brushes make contact. We're going to clean that up and make it schwanky. So this part looks fine, but we're going to clean this up, make it nice. So I might just use some, well, I was thinking of using some emery cloth, but I don't know where the emery cloth went. I had some. Lovely. It might, oh no, there it is right there. Just take some of this emery cloth and just lightly scrub it. Not much, but a little bit. So let's see how that works. So now that we got that clean, nice and coppery, a little emery cloth goes a long ways. Keep that for that reason. But we got that cleaned. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get some more grease. I like to get some grease. Get a little here. Apply a little bit to this bearing. Like so. A little bit to these teeth. we got a little notch on the bearing. But we're going to put a little grease around these teeth. Put some on the bearing. Okay, now we're just going to take this. We're going to reinstall this right back in its case. Now we see everything is spinning beautifully. So, we're good there. Now, the fun part is, number one, we got to put our seal back on, which again, we're going to grease that, which I'll get a little bit more grease. And we'll run a bead of grease around this outer lip, like so. Look at that. A little bead of grease. Now, the grease on the outside of the case, I will clean with paper towel because I don't need that. That's just going to cause that all kinds of fun things to stick. So, we get our grease, and we'll grab our seal. Well, actually, the seal can't go on this. It's got to go on the other deal. So, I guess we'll just set the seal there. But we'll grab our windings, shit like that. I don't know. It's stuff. And we'll take that. We'll set it up here so I don't just set it right down on top of the brushes, because that was intelligent of me. But we'll get our grease. And we'll just do a little bit around the edges. And roll it over a little so I can get to the other side. Camera skills. To be desired. But this is what it is. So now that we've got that, we can set it here. We can slip our seal back on, like so. Get on there, you little devil. Now that our seal is back on, we can take this whole deal and set it on here. Now this I will need two hands for, because we've got to push these brushes in and together to get it back over. So, I'm going to do that and then we'll be back from there. Alright, so now we've got this on. Everything's looking good. Let's go get some more grease. Get my gun here. Take our grease. Remember, no dry gaskets or O-rings or seals of any kind cannot be put on dry. You will have issues. And grease is nice. It holds things in place. So we just grease this nice and tidy like. Now that looks a lot different from when we started. So now we're going to grab our seal. And this might be a two-hand job to put into place. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. The seal is not in good shape anyways. It might be fun to try to get to reseal. Well, maybe not. It's actually sitting in there not too bad. Now we're going to go get just a hair more grease because we didn't use much there. We're going to grab our main top. And we're just going to grease this. And if I can somehow figure out how to run this, I got an idea. Look at this. That'll work. Just grease this. Let's not grease the inside. No need for that. Now, I forgot. Gotta get a little more grease. Because I forgot about this upper bearing up here. We are definitely going to want to put a little bit of grease on him. Hold the camera right, you dumbass. Look at that. Get all that grease in there. I'll just put a little bit in the bottom here. Just for kicks and giggles. Oh, I missed a little piece of schmag while cleaning. Not to worry. A screwdriver has our back. I'll just take that. Cool. Now, we've just got to put this back on. You got to align these holes with where they thread in here. That's two-hand job. So I'm going to do that, and then once again we'll be back. Okay, cool. So we got this top cap back on. Everything's nice and in place, and the seal is doing its thing. So, what we're going to do, we got a number on it still. Now we got to put our little relay clicky-clack back in, which requires me to grab it with a Leatherman, because I put a zip tie on it so I could hold it while I was washing. Handy deal, by the way. Get rid of the stuff I put on there. Really like it if this thing would quit dimming down. So now that we got our relay clicky clack, we're going to want to go ahead and get some grease. And just put a little bit of grease down in there. You know, spread the wealth. So now that we got some grease, slip that back over and set that back down on there, and you're going to want to make sure that you forget the bolts for it. That works really well. And then you want to grab a screwdriver and realize that you had one over here already. Now we're going to take this out of the vise, which I'm going to do that off camera. We're also going to do off camera, it's in backwards, this. Use the 1/2 inch nut. It has to go in. That way it can hook up to this piece, because that slips on here like so. Stuff and things happen. Magic, I don't know. Nobody knows. Science. But slip this thing back on, get some screws in it, and some nuts and bolts, and I don't know, maybe we'll find more grease to put on something. Who knows? But we're definitely probably going to put some dielectric grease on some things before we put them back on, because dielectric grease is nice, but maybe. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Now when I get done with a project like this, I want to test it and make sure that what I did works, because when I took this apart, it still worked. So we are going to test this. Oh, quit torquing up, you shit. Boom. She's working. She's working quite well. I'll take it. I should have did that beforehand and see how it worked, but it's working. So now we're going to tighten this back down. We're going to toss this thing back in the pickup with our bolts that are now clean, so I shouldn't want to, you know, hurt myself, because I hate working with grease. It just irritates me every time. So, by the way, these little Harbor Freight jumper packs, I've actually been thoroughly pleased with that little thing. We're going to remember to put the canopy down on the topper, because I don't want to screw up the garage door or my topper, because I like this topper. It's a good one. It's ugly as hell, but it works good. Alrighty. So the starter's back in. All is well under there. Everything's hooked back up, which sucks, because that starter is going to have to come out again here pretty soon, because I got a new block heater coming in from Ford. So, but let's just see what it does now. Oh good, it's cold. The high idle solenoid kicked on. You don't need to be on. Misnomer about 7.3s. Wait till you hear clicking from the gullet plug solenoid till you cycle it, or till you try to start it. Just like that. Oh, there we go. That's more like it. And boom! We've got a brand new starting truck. I love it. So, there you go. That's just to show that, yeah, I was getting a little weak. Now the garage is smoky. Good work, Nolan. You know, with just a little bit of work and time, you can fix stuff yourself. That starter will probably last me a decent amount of time now. You know, when I bought this, the injection pump, advanced piston is dying. Thank you, low sulfur diesel, modern day BS, love it. I run fuel additive, by the way, but still, when you don't for that many years, things don't enjoy it. So, the injection pump advanced piston was dying, so I just advanced the pump. Quit smoking, power's restored. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to replace that at some point, probably this summer, because I like my good pickup to be 10 foot tall and bulletproof. But, you know, I try to do everything in Ford parts, glow plugs, Motorcraft, ZD9s, block heater that's coming in. No idea what the part number is off the top of my head, but I liked, hell, it's a little bit more expensive to go order straight from Ford, but in the long run, it just really keeps things working nice. Keeps you on the road. If it was that good from the factory, then it must be good again. May as well keep getting it. So, yeah, that's it for the Powell County Plow team on today's video of starters. I don't know, maybe we'll break something else sometime and do that, and that can be done on any starter. I did this one because it's a little more complex because it's a diesel and it's the one I needed to do at the moment. But like old school big block, small block, FE, 385 series, what have you, pre-1991. It was 91. Some of them were a weird crossover year. We had a buddy that had a 91 crew cab, but it took a 92 starter. I had an 85 460 that was all 86 stuff, because I don't know, it was a nightmare because it was emissions. It had hot fueling in California emissions, and sucked. But and them old starters, they're even more simple. They're really stupid simple to fix. Anything in the 70s and 80s, they're all pretty straightforward. Even your 90s gas starters, all that. Even modern day starters, you can sometimes get away with just cleaning them, and you're back on the road trucking again. So just because something's getting wore and slowing down doesn't mean it's broke. Sometimes it just needs cleaned. We've done that with Bobcat starters and tractor starters and all kinds of stuff, and makes them work for quite a while longer. I'd be surprised. So that's all for today. Don't have too much fun, and until next time, happy trails.